Oh, there's a countdown.
And welcome back to the Forever Broken podcast, where we're going to ask the hard question like, who the fuck's watching me now? And are vodka prices going to jump here in the near future? I'm Derek Thompson. With me, as always, is Gabriel Brew
How's it going, everyone?
and TJ Davidson.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And I have the special kind of benefit here. I get to introduce tonight's guest, my brother, Justin Thompson, who's been a firefighter for, God, I think like 2 fucking decades now. And
15 years now.
so and that's pretty cool. So, Justin, how about you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so Justin Thompson, been a career firefighter with North Platte Fire Department for this will be year 15, heading into I think 16. I don't know how the math works out exactly. Um, did some volunteer time before that, not much. Uh, we're EMT. We run the ALS units in town. I've been doing that for 15 years as well. Hazmat technician, um, and then just hang out with family. Got 4 wonderful kids. They test me every day. My wonderful wife. I do have a bit of a Matt Foley story. I am divorced, and I do live in a van down by the river. So I get to take on plenty. We keep ourselves busy. Our department's call volume continues to rise. We're enjoying things, but we're seeing more and more of the burnout that healthcare across the nation has felt over the last 2 years anyway. So I appreciate you having me on. Can't wait to see where this poop train runs down to. And hopefully we can answer some tough questions and figure some things out for people.
Perfect.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you on here, Justin. Um, so let's kick it off real quick and just get into the nitty gritty with you here, real quick. You're talking about how the EMS and like the medical side of firefighting, you guys are losing numbers and it's getting kind of difficult and it's hard to deal with. What are your coping mechanisms to help keep you running for 15 years, man?
Well, for gosh, 12 years fighting. I had the opportunity to do some MMA fighting as an amateur on the side. Uh, Something about getting punched in the face brings joy in my soul. So I've been able to do that. Working out as a whole, um, drinking was a big one for many years. When I was going through my divorce, 9 years ago, uh, probably 9, 10 years ago, drinking was a big one. Um, I've had to work on that, processing that. That's still something we see is kind of the go-to. I think as men, and I talk a lot about men's culture and deal with a lot of men's group work. I don't like to speak to how women cope, but men, that's what we're told to do. Drink, sit down, shut up, fuck up, man up,
Yeah, we've
whatever
said
it
this
is.
on the show a lot. Drink,
Yeah.
bury
Yep,
it, and move the fuck on.
yep. And in a first responder world, much like a military background or a police department background, there's a there's a mentality that's been ingrained over years and years and years to try to out macho the next guy. Uh, we can't admit when we're broken. We can't admit when we're hurt. So that's something I've had to learn how to do. Um, I've had the pleasure of being tortured in men's work. Um, my brother-in-law is a pastor with Flatirons Community Church out in Colorado, and I've had the opportunity to take Derek down these roads with me. Um, I had to learn what emotions were. So one of the coping mechanisms I had to learn was figuring out what my emotions were. Why am I angry? what is this thing I'm feeling inside of me that's not normal? So that's actually how I cope, is kind of enjoying talking to guys like you, coming in and having conversations. I don't have any answers to anything, but man, I like to ask questions. So one of the things that I do with my family, coming home, being with my kids, and I think you guys know what it is. There's peace in that. I can't imagine a world without my kids. But if I'm broken, or I come home from a bad day, you run bad calls. That's part of the gig, right? You see horrible things, and you can come home and I heard Brandon Harada. He was talking about cut the door, right? When I walk through that door, I compartmentalize it, and I'm king of that. I'll tell you, Derek knows very well. If you guys want to have a contest of how much crap I can shove in the closet before it falls apart, I'm going to win every time.
Yeah, if we're trying to shove 50 pounds of shit into a 10-pound sack, you got it.
Yep. So when I come home and I try to separate those things, or I try to compartmentalize, all I'm doing is cleaning my kids' room and just putting stuff in the closet. Put stuff in the closet. But if I never deal with it, or if I don't have the option to have the conversation, or I don't have the ability to have the conversation, eventually that's going to fall out of my kids. Eventually they're going to be the ones that get hurt. My wife's going to be the one that gets hurt, because we're great at it. Men are great at it, but we can't compartmentalize forever, because then eventually you put yourself in the closet and your whole family's on the outside. And you're just sitting in your room full of crap. So learning those emotions was one of the big things I had to learn to do. We call them Selah emotions, or I'll just go Selah, or Sachet. Sad, angry, loving, excited, happy, scared. 6 emotions that we started processing, and we got tied in with what's called the Crucible Project, or now it's called Liminal Works.
No, I didn't realize it changed the
name. So my boy, one of the greatest human beings, Ginger Gandalf out there, Chris Mosier, with Flatirons, they've started a new project, liminalworks.com, I believe it is. For anybody out there who hears this, if you're looking for something, connect with those people. They may save your life.
Go ahead, Justin. Send us that link, and we'll drop it into the information part of the podcast.
Word. I will figure out how to do that. So yeah, those are the things I kind of do to cope. I love being at the gym. I just got done tonight. I may not walk tomorrow. Learning. I'm just getting back from injuries. Squatting today it's so stupid. I don't know why people do it to themselves.
Because it's the greatest feeling on earth. Let's be honest.
It is. It really is. So that's kind of how I deal with things now, and then we're trying to figure out what's next in that, how that looks.
So just a minute ago, when you said that you guys are always trying to out macho each other, because that's just kind of what guys do, especially in, kind of job fields and the shit that we choose to do. What do you think is it hard to keep like a healthy balance, because you have to have confidence, especially doing what you do, just to run into a fire or, going on to any scene where something traumatic has happened. You have to be confident in yourself and your abilities, or you might lose it altogether. How do you keep a healthy balance between just having enough confidence and not trying to be too macho and stuff?
So that's an incredible game that's being played in the fire church right now. I had to learn my confidence doesn't come from my actions. My confidence has to come from somewhere rooted below all the other crap, all the other machismo. I'll put on a show. Yeah, look, I got tattoos, I got muscles, I'm full of shit. I'll run into a burning building, I'll do whatever. It's all crap. So I had no confidence at all in anything I did when I didn't have something below that. So now the game, like you said, we're playing is what's enough? Is it enough? Am I not doing enough? And this will kind of tie into the whole initiative, the conversations being had. March 2004, the fire service sat back and said, "Hey, we got a problem. we're killing guys over 100 a year in line of duty fires, line of duty accidents, things like that. We have to step into this. And they started the life safety initiatives. And what came out of that was that everyone goes home. That's the motto of the fire service, right? Well, where that ends up, and I think looking at numbers, the most recent ones, there's a white paper that was written, and then the NFPA and the CDC had some numbers. 2017, we had 103 line of duty deaths in the fire service. That's cardiac arrest, things like that on the fire scene. But if you dig deeper into it on our end, we're not seeing 13, 12 interior firefighting deaths because we've got this weird balance of culture right now where it's, hey, we have to do our risk benefit analysis, and we're not going to commit unless we're 100% sure everybody's going to be safe. That's some people's view of it. And then there's the aggressive view. And I tend to lean more towards this view of when you guys look at your families, and I think it was Chief Salka that said it. I don't want the guy who's like, hey, well, risk benefit analysis says there's some fire there, we can't go in. I want the craziest son of a gun you got who's going to go in. If that's my kid, I want the lunatic on your department to go get him.
Right.
Now we have to find that balance. And where does that confidence come from when I don't care about being macho anymore? It comes from education, training, and then just finally being done with my own bullshit and just realizing, like, no matter what I put out to everybody else, they're not gonna fill me. My cup's not gonna get filled from everybody else. My cup can get filled from one place. Right. I fill my cup from my family, I fill my cup from my friends, I fill those things. But if I'm really trying and chasing after the right things, the only way I'm gonna get my cup filled is chasing God, chasing Jesus, trying to figure out that life. And again, I've been fortunate to have people in my life step into those roles and ask me hard questions and really chase after that with me. I fail at it every day. But my confidence to just do what I want to do, that's where I got it from. I don't know where other guys get it from. For some guys, it's bravado, it's balls, it's a story they can tell. For me, it's from somewhere else.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think a lot of the self-worth that we have kind of comes from our, I guess, raising and how, and I don't mean necessarily parents in general, but just the culture that we grow up in. I think that was very much originally our culture was that, you shut up and you deal with it, and that's part of the generation we're in now is where we're trying to change that and let men especially know that it's okay to have feelings, and we need to be more open about those feelings. We need to talk about it, and we need to do that shit instead of just sitting there locking it up, bottling it up, drinking booze to shove it down. We need to actually be open about it. Like I just think I think it's a tremendous thing to say that we're surrounded and we grow up to be our culture at the time.
Yeah. Well, you guys can speak to it as much as anybody, and because when something bad happens, what's the first thing the guy next to you would say, whether he was your commanding officer or whether he's the guy right next to you?
Suck it up.
Suck it up, right? No matter how bad the trauma was, whether it was to you or it was something you've done or just something you've seen, the going answer has been and continues to be suck it up. Battalion Chief Steve Kahn, he's out in Ohio. I sat through a Mayday training today, just trying to figure out rapid intervention teams, how to be proactive, because again, we suck at these things. We're not prepared enough. We'll never be prepared enough for something that's going to kill you. You can train all day, we're still going to screw it up. So I wanted to see a different perspective. And he was in a Mayday situation. And I want to say it was about 2003, 2004. And he said, we listen to the tape and the audio and you hear all the excitement, you hear all this fear, you hear all these things. And then he said, afterwards, we're not doing enough to take care of guys. And it piqued my interest. Because I don't understand, like afterwards, you mean they pulled you out and put you right back on the call? He said, no, afterwards, after that happened, I thought I was going to lose my life. The guys next to me said, hey, you're not dead. You're fine. Get over it. And he said that was a moral injury to me. My PTSD, part of it comes from that moral wound that happened. And if we spread that out into more of what we do in fire and EMS, every time I've been a part of calls where you sit down with the guys next to you, the guys above you, and you say, man, this one got me. I'm screwed up right now. And their first answer is, oh, I've seen worse. Hey, I've been through worse. I don't get this. Stop. I've been that guy that says that. I've heard it and I've been told it. Right. So I'm not innocent in any of this. So I'm just as guilty of it. But that we all signed a contract with our oath or with our pledge. And the guys next to us made the same promise. I'm going to take care of you no matter what. So when you step out of that and all of a sudden the guy next to you says, shut up, get over it. You get hurt because, hey, man, you're not taking care of it. We're not taking care of our brothers and our sisters the way we said we were going to. So we have to start looking at the old school mentality, to call it that generation before us and my generation. I'm old now. We have to recognize, like, we're hurting ourselves by not accepting the fact that, hey, this job hurts. This stuff sucks. We aren't meant to see this. And from no matter how big or small it is, we tell our cadets and our firefighters that are young, hey, when you go on a call, that person, for them, this is the emergency of their life. Even if it's the fourth time you see them this week, today's the day. This is the worst moment of their life. And you need to treat them like you would your grandma. Love them. They may only need an ear. And then we turn around and go back to the station and say, shut up. Quit being a baby.
Yeah.
You're fine. Right. And Derek, you've seen it. How do we get better in that? What are we looking at? So what's the loss? What's the risk?
I think we're all guilty of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I've said it a million times. And I still probably will, depending on how clearly I'm looking at things at the moment. But, it's one of those things that, like you said, it's built into us. So I guess, before I forget, Gabe's as old as you, so you're not the only old one.
You're so old.
We're crushing it, dude. We're crushing it.
Yeah.
And I just want to put it out there that we're not old, Justin. We're well seasoned, and these two just can shut up.
I am aging like 2% milk in the Phoenix desert, man.
And I'm aging like whole milk, so I get it.
I got clumps myself. Don't worry about it. We're good.
You just get
Cottage cheese
it.
is just as good.
Yeah.
Hey, man, listen, it makes good lasagna. I'm just saying.
Yeah, cottage cheese is great for everything. And then the second thing that I was going to point out here, which clearly I've forgotten because I'm trying to put too many words to this. Gosh darn it. I got nothing.
If you lost it, I got one. I got one for you, Justin.
Yeah,
You talk about how, like, you go on the call and that, you confide in a brother, you confide in a fellow firefighter or EMS, that one was hard for you and it's messing with you, and they tell you to buck it up. I think that's a problem not only because it messes with you on an emotional level and it makes it feel like you don't have the support, but I think it messes up your unit or your team because now you're going to start separating from that person because they're not going to support you through a tough time, and you're going to cause a divide within your own faction, pretty much. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you start to lose trust with each other.
Exactly.
We've seen it, and it happens. We're lucky enough we're a small department, so we all know each other so well. But when we see it, it happens in little moments where you hear something like that and guys kind of separate and they step back and say, well, I'm not going to talk to that guy anymore about those. But you still have to work every day, right?
Right.
The other thing.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, so how do we address that? And what's going on within, for us, what we're trying to do for it? One of the best dudes, craziest, lunatic, favorite human being on the planet kind of guy, Jeremy Condon, was one of our medics. And there's two things that I'll kind of touch on about what he's done and what he did to motivate change for us to look at it, because he connected with guys. He was so good at being a human that the rest of us who aren't good at it had to sit back and go, wait a minute. But he came in to the fire service with trauma. He has a past. And it was said like, hey, he had problems before he got here. This job made it worse. But again, that's every single one of us. I don't know a whole lot of human beings that sign up willingly to do stupid stuff like this, to witness what we witnessed, because they had a great childhood and their normal function. Like there's things that we all bring in, and we've never addressed them, right? So we have to, when a guy comes in, we have to be able to accept his flaws, accept his past, and help him figure that out. And again, I'll point back to the Liminal Works Crucible Project, whatever you guys chase after. We have results down here, but way up here or way back here, 5, 6, 3, 4, 10, whatever it was, things happen in your life that are causing this down here. And we have to, whether it's through counseling or through good friends or whatever, we have to start figuring this out as men. Right. I've heard and seen a million stories that are the exact same of men. Of this happened to me when I was 8 years old. This happened when I was 6 years old. My dad disconnected from me, whatever it was, and it screwed everything up. And now they're in the military, they're a cop or they're a firefighter. Like they're all right. They got screwed up somewhere, so now they're trying to re-earn that macho level that they lost back here. But Jeremy was able to step into that. He taught us everything. He taught us so much about mental health, and I love him so much that when he had enough and he stepped away, it broke my heart, because I want to save him. We all want to save him. The guy he's a 1 in a million human being, one of the best paramedics on the planet. I have no doubt about it. But before he left, he said, hey, we had the bad call. What are we going to do? So he put in a protocol. Here's how we need to start discussing this. We have a hotline where right afterwards we sit down, it's your after action report, but immediately we're in the app bay. Hey, was this a bad one? Okay, call the BC, call the captain, call whoever's in charge, tell them we're out of service for 10 minutes. We got to get our crap together. And then we need to really evaluate where we're at. Where are we at mentally? Hey, I know this one may not bother you, but I did this or I saw this and that bothered me. Do I need to step away from the job? Am I going to be able to step into the next call? So there's now a conversation of how can we tag in and tag out? Can I have my partners who aren't on shift that day? Can I put out a page, say, hey man, our guys are hurting right now. Can you guys come in and fill in for them? Can you cover them for an hour, 2 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is? So we actually start taking care of each other. The conversation is happening. Never thought it would. It's incredible that it's happening. And it's because of guys like Jeremy who stepped in and said, hey, I don't care if I look weak to the next guy. I'm stronger than all of you. But we have to fix this because I'm broken. And I can remember the first time I realized this was a thing in the fire service. You don't get told that. Like our dad was the fire service our whole life. We chased after him. He was the guy we wanted to be. And it never was, hey guys, I had a crappy day and I'm really screwed up and I need a minute, or I had a call and we were kind of screwy. Like you never heard that out of him. It was fuck up, next call.
I don't think we ever heard him say anything about work.
He said stuff about work. It was always the funny stuff. It was always the what him and Butch were doing, or
him and Bud,
but
I meant
all the
inappropriate
like things.
We never heard about the actual work.
No, I mean some of the calls were funny ones. Again, when you're elbows deep in a person.
Yeah.
And that's because he wanted to keep us out of it. But when I got on, can't remember, not that long on, probably less than a year. I had to go do CPR on a guy. And he was one of the family closest friends, right? And get done, we find out who he is. I realized what it is, and it devastated me. Because I knew this guy. I've known him my whole life. And the tones go off, some old lady stubs her toe, get in the unit, shut up, we got to go. You don't process it. We didn't have time to process it. And in that moment, I learned, hey, this is what the job is. And I don't think it has to be that. Now, in a busy system, when we're down, there are days you're going to have to do it. But in the fire service as a whole, and I think in healthcare as a whole, ERs, the nurses that do that, they're getting their teeth kicked in. And it's 99% nonsense. But you don't get to breathe in that 1% of hell. And that's not fair.
So you were talking about the stuff that Jeremy brought to the department, like, hey, let's have like a 10-minute after action. Let's talk about it. Let's see if we can continue on. You keep on saying, like, what else can we do to bring this to light? What else? Do you guys participate in, like, what would be considered like a Big Brother program? Like a veteran takes on a rookie, and it is your guys' responsibility to make sure that nothing has changed, like, with your I think that would help too.
Like a mentorship kind of deal.
Kind of like a mentorship, but even like a buddy program.
I can kind of alleviate on that and give you the simple answer, Justin. It happens organically, I think.
Well, yeah. So, and it's something I'm pretending to go to school because I'm trying to become smarter. I can't be an idiot for the rest of my life. But that's one of New York Fire Department, that's actually, they have a program for that, and it's required, where you step in, and there's certain guys on our department who do it naturally. There's guys, Big Ed, captain that I work with. There's a guy, he loves
incredible
people.
Guy.
He will just don't let him hug you. He'll choke you unconscious. The guy is, but he loves to take care of our younger members. And then there's some guys who ask everybody, and we want to keep them away from people in the general public. So our assistant chief is working on what they would call like promotional passbooks, trying to figure that out. And I think it's a part of that he's building mentorship into it. So it'll become more of a formal process from our battalion chief level down to the guys who are going to be future leadership. We look at succession planning. How do you build your future? And I think that's the key is we have to take what we know or what we knew, and we have to, we got to cover that bridge, the generational gap. I never thought I'd be the old guy. I think that's another issue too, is like when I was 21, I hired on. The minute I was old enough, I got a job. Well, now the guys that have been there for the last 15 years with me still look at me and see a 21-year-old kid because I'm goofy. I like to have fun. I don't like to take anything too seriously because I would snap. But I'm not 21. I'm old. I've learned a few things, and now I see these kids come in that are 21, and I'm like, what the? I get it. I get why you guys hated me. This is hard. This is like bringing your own children in and being like, all right, hey, at noon is nap time. We're gonna have milk, and we got to lay you down. So trying to figure that out, but stepping into mentorship has to become a more formal thing in the fire service, especially in smaller departments. But then also for our older guys, we got to figure out how to cover that gap, because our old battalion chief, when I was 21, like I was just scared of the guy. When I showed up to work, I was like, hey, can somebody talk to him? Because it's nicest guy in the world. I see him out all the time now, and he is one of the people. I love him.
That's such a dick.
When I was at work, it was like, listen, hey man, was it bowling league last night? Because I'm not about to even step on this, right? And we don't want to have that anymore. Our battalion chiefs now are like 40 years old.
That was because that would have been before Dad was the assistant chief, right?
Well, I mean, my battalion chief like 3 years ago. He was my dude. But Army battalion chiefs now are like 46, 47. They're younger, but we are hiring on 21-year-old kids. I mean, these guys graduated college before these kids were born. There's
Yeah.
no connection. I could have children old enough to do this job. It's terrifying. It'd be a stretch, Derek, but I could do it, and I know people my age that have that age kids. So, but yeah, that's figuring out mentorship, and then figuring out honest conversation. What are the statistics? You know, like we talked about, the everybody goes home initiative. That's everybody goes home. If you go to a firefighter class anywhere in the country, if you just want to go drop into one, and you want to be like A in the class, go in and say the following sentence: "My only concern is that everybody goes home." And they're gonna be like, "That guy right there should be an officer somewhere, because he is saying the right thing." But
then wet stuff on the red stuff.
Yeah, and my question to all of it is what are we sending home? So what happens when I send you home and you're broken? What am I sending home? And what am I doing to make sure that what I send home doesn't kill himself, doesn't hurt his kids? What are we doing? How can we start to protect each other? How can we start to have a conversation where the macho guys in the room, so 2017, I think, we're looking at 103 firefighters killed themselves. Less than that, I think 98 was the number, died in the line of duty. That's cardiac arrest. Again, 13-ish is about when you have actually running into a fire, tearing after it. The rest is cardiac arrest due to the stress of the job, lack of sleep, all the other things that come with this job. 140 police officers killed themselves. If you look at the normal, and they're saying it's 40% underreported. So the real number is probably closer to 270 guys and men and women are killing themselves in the fire service every year, and less than 100 are dying in line of duty.
Yeah.
So everyone goes home. That's great. Everyone goes home. But what happens when we get home? And what's the conversation like? Try to figure this out together. We've got critical incident stress debriefing. We've got CSM. We've got therapy lined up. But what are we doing to have honest conversations, to end the macho crap? The IAFF has this Center for Excellency. Google it, double check it. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's the only place in the country where a firefighter union member can go and get treatment for PTSD that's geared towards firefighters. Most states, most cities do not recognize PTSD as a workman's comp issue. You guys have talked to people, you guys know these things to be true. Then in the military, it's just much of a pain in the butt. So when you have a guy in the fire service has a bad call, has acute or chronic PTSD that builds up, their option is to go to their local counselor, who you got to build rapport with. They may not understand, or get out to the IAFF Center for Excellence when they deal with some drugs and PTSD. But to do that, your insurance isn't going to pay for it. So it's $10,000 you got to drop out of your pocket. What about you guys? I don't have $10,000 laying around to go disappear on my family, go to Maryland and spend a week, right? So there are organizations out there that are trying to step into this. Nick Wingo, look him up on Facebook. He's just back. He has started, and I got to spend time with him at a liminal project, Building Grit. You guys can check the hat out. I had the opportunity to spend some time with him. His goal is he started a nonprofit, is to have the ability to send any firefighter in the country to the IAFF Center for Excellency with his money, because he went through it. He went through the bad stuff. And he's got a great story to tell. If you guys can ever connect with him, we can figure that out. There's a dude who will blow your mind, and he's got the best beard I've ever seen on a ginger. And I think he's like a first form legionnaire, so he's a cool dude. Next Rung is another organization that is stepping into this for the fire service. I don't really have any contact information. I found them on Facebook and we kind of follow them. But we're seeing that turn of it's not enough to just have a CISD. It's not enough to have a hot wall. We have to change the culture. We have to change the conversation. You have to surround yourself with better people. I surround myself with some of the worst people in the world because they challenge me every single day. My brother-in-law, Cole, Brandon Luther, who's just, I hate calling him, but he holds me accountable. If you call the guy, I'm like, hey, man, this happened. I'm mad. I want to be angry today. He's like, okay, what's your role in this? He holds me accountable. Worst friend in the world to have because you never get to be mad. You always got to look at yourself. You got to find guys like that. And you got to find those guys in the fire service. And for me, I've got to figure out how to be that guy in the fire service. I got to figure out how to be that guy in my department and change the perspective of you're just a 21-year-old punk. You're a lot of talk, but you're no follow-up. You're a lot of whatever. And that's who I am. But still, I love this. I love this stuff. And I love the guys that work. I love men. I love women who are in the service. I love taking them and saying, hey, we can do better and pouring into them. It sounded terrible, but it was right.
Yeah, good,
No, that's cool, man. Hey,
good fallback on that one. That was well played.
Yeah.
I seen Brew losing it. And I knew I had him.
Before I fucking lose my track of thought here, I've got like a spider web of notes here. So I gotta start with this one. Earlier you had said made mention to injury, and we just listened to this yesterday from Chris, or 2 days ago from Chris now, and he put it in a way that I hadn't really thought about it, because he said wanting to protect us, and I was like, well, I mean, injury because it's caused by a trauma, and I was thinking about it in like the technical sense, I guess.
Mhm.
And then he's like, because what we have with like PTSD or with any depression, anxiety, all that stuff, he said, we want to, he's like, it's an injury because he said, the first time that I came across a hole in the ground when I was driving and I came back from Afghanistan, he said, I thought, oh crap. And he said, I swerved away from that hole and, damn near flipped my car. He goes, after that, time and time again, I crossed this hole. He said, now I'm at a point where the only reason I'm going to swerve is if somebody's standing in front of my car with a bazooka shooting around at me and I'm hearing a nuke go off beside me, like that kind of thing. He's like, the thing about an injury, which is what we, is that to overcome an injury, this we don't have any control over. We can try it, but it's always going to have that little bit of like kind of, overcoming boundary to it. An injury we can always overcome. He's like, there's no reason we can't overcome an injury. So I always thought that was really good. I took a lot from that. I thought that was a good perspective. Secondly, you started reflecting on a couple of different things, and it reminded me of the military and how we deal with things. And I just thought that was incredible. I mean, a lot of the stuff that you're saying you deal with really does correlate to the military. It's suck it up, shut up, do what you're told, let's go to the next thing. But we're constantly learning. And then you brought up fire suicides. This is awesome. This refers back to our first episode when we actually did try to dive into those numbers. And it was fun that you brought up the fact that there's a 40% difference, because I said on that episode, I think Gabe made mention of it too, and TJ as well, that those numbers aren't really that realistic because there's only so much that they can look at and report. I mean, not every death by suicide is going to get correlated back to the service of some personnel. So I'm trying to connect all these dots.
And think about that too. So we have a small service, but we have had guys retire out and then commit suicide years later.
Yeah.
Is that That's not going to get tied back to the job. And then how many guys and gals that don't want to misrepresent? There's incredible women that do these jobs, right? Like we have to respect, and they suffer as much as we do. But we see guys drinking themselves to death. Does that get racked up? Is that getting counted on that suicide end? Because
No, I don't think it does.
if you go into liver failure because you drank too much,
It's not
nobody's
going to
going,
get
well, he
counted.
killed himself. It's not a suicide. It's, hey, he had liver failure. So
Yeah.
there's a huge amount of underreporting, and there's a huge amount of we just well, let's put it off aside. We don't have to deal with that. Nope.
Yeah.
Couldn't happen to us.
And
Listen,
I think with the fire
we got a problem.
service and police officers especially, I don't think they ever really sit there. It hasn't become mainstream enough to where they're looking into these deaths and going, "Oh shit, why'd they commit suicide?" You know, it's kind of like everyone else. Like, not to say everyone else, but you know, it all gets wrapped in. The military are the only
Mm-hmm.
one right now that really get like this limelight of the attention in dealing with suicide because it got marketed well. And now
Right.
we're sitting there looking at, oh shit, stress causes this. So now we have to start
Yeah.
looking into these other. We're trying to help prevent too. You know, it has to go that across the
Yeah.
board to everyone.
I think with what police officers go through, it's hard to compare. I think, and that's another thing we get into trouble with as men, as people in these. Hey, my stuff's bad, but thank God I'm not a cop. Like, thank goodness I got 10 points higher on the civil service exam so I could be a firefighter because those guys, they've got it rough right now. And nobody wants to be a cop. They're understaffed, they're overworked. You couldn't pay half this country enough to be a cop. But the minute we do that, we minimize our trauma, we minimize what happened. Um, I think one of the numbers in that, it's the white paper that has kind of this stuff, was in a police officer's career, he will see 188 critical incidents. Those are the things that are going to screw you up. That doesn't include the 100,000 little annoying nonsense things. That's 188 critical life altering events in a career. And in the fire service, they don't even have a number, so I couldn't tell you what it is. But you're 5 times more likely to suffer from PTSD in these jobs. So we can't minimize it. Like you said, we do really good with the military, and because, like you said, it's been marketed well. But police and fire, we have this weird thing where a lot of us don't want to overstep the military. We don't want to take that shine away because there's a tremendous amount of respect there. And we like to minimize our stuff because of what we know our men and women of the military see on a daily basis. But if we can all recognize we're kind of doing similar crap together, we're all in service to somebody else, putting it on the line. We just have different trauma, but those traumas still affect us all the same. And we have to stop saying, hey, theirs is worse, so let's get them taken care of first. We need to say, hey, we're in this together. Let's take care of each other. And then when we do that, now the people from the military, when they come out, if they don't have a brother in the area, they can go to a fire department and say, hey, you guys are struggling. You say, hey man, let's help you. Let's get in. Police officers, they got a pretty small community in their towns. Brandon, he works at the sheriff's department. I think he's by himself. How much? But there's departments of fire departments. There's military members in those communities. We connect everybody and say, hey, we're in this together. We're all fighting the same demons. Let's take care of each other. How do we do that? How does that become the motto of 22 a day, or everyone goes home? I don't know. I don't have that kind of outreach. I want to try to take care of it next and see
I
what
think that's
happens.
where it starts, dude. I think that's where it starts is taking care of your brothers that are to the right and to the left of you, the ones that you're following and the ones that you're leading. It breaks down into the community of firefighters that you fight fires for or with. It breaks down to the police officers that police their communities that they're policing, taking care of each other. It breaks down into the community supporting both of those factions and being the good citizens that they need to be. And it's a trickle down effect, and it in any society you can kind of see where that breakdown happens, and that's when the stress of being a firefighter kicks in, when the stress of being a police officer kicks in, when the stress of being in the military kicks in, or these high stress, high impact jobs really start to take a toll on the individual performing them. So I think the conversation needs to start, change needs to start like in house. And I like to say this all the time because I'm very guilty of talking about wanting to change things and then being the first person to fall off that wagon. So I mean, like, you can speak it into existence, but that only happens so much. And at some point, you're going to have to be the change that you want to see happen, right?
Yeah.
You know what's fucking wild
Because
to think about? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go,
no,
go,
dude,
TJ.
go
You haven't said anything. Say something.
So
give
what
it to
blows
me,
my mind
baby.
to think about is, how many years have we had fire departments, police departments, the fucking military, and out of all these years of all these people suffering from the same traumatic experiences and having PTSD and everything, and we still haven't figured out pretty much anything on how to successfully deal with that. Besides like giving them a bunch of Xanax and turning people into zombies and shit. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I
Well, that's
think
what we make.
the motto of the
Go
fire
for it.
department is 200 years of service unimpeded by change. We're not going to change nothing. And I
Right.
think if anybody knows it, the two things firefighters hate: the way things are and change.
And change.
We're
You can't get wet or
professionals
water.
at it, right? That's just it. Well, you
Yeah.
can. There's wetting agents. There's a whole science behind that. It's great. It's super fun, but we're not going to go down that road.
I was being a smart ass.
But
Thank you for
Sounds
fucking
like
me
a
up.
yeah. Way
Yeah,
to
you're
I
make
know
it
welcome, dude.
into a
That's what
good
we're here for,
that's
subject.
the
baby.
part when you're here with it and like an idiot. Like I read these things, it's like, oh, I'm gonna have this stupid thought in my head for no reason.
Yeah, we do that
But
pretty
yeah, that's
often.
just it. We don't change anything. We don't address it because it's something that we're afraid to say, hey, we were broken. We weren't
Right.
right. Because what happens? We look weak. Where's weakness lead? Weakness leads to shame. Weakness leads to guilt. Where does that come from? Why do we have shame and guilt? When you make a mistake, you don't want to own up to it because somebody's going to make you look stupid. You feel like you're going to get blown up, or we don't hold each other accountable in the right way. We have to change all of it. You have to be able to figure that out. And like you said, be the change. I got to chase after things different. I can't hold my wife accountable the same way I hold my brothers who work accountable. I can't have the same conversation, but I can't. I just, I have to have that same, I don't know, delicacy at home. The guys that I do at work, I love them like family. We love each other like family. Why do we treat each other like enemies
Well,
when
because
things are hard,
that's the social norm, dude. It's the social
right?
norm to act that way, which is a perfect segue to get into um, a previous episode. Shout out to the "Do It for Drake" episode where you were a viewer, a listener, a
Mm-hmm.
live listener. And unfortunately, your questions didn't come through, but this plays right into that, man. Like, you it starts with treating situations delicately, being the change you want to be, and actually standing up and being willing to take those lickings and take those verbal abuses and being like, yeah, say what you need to say, man, but what you're doing is wrong, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
about it. So you need to knock it off and leave this person alone, because it's starting to get out of control with like social media, internet bullying, physical bullying, and even adults are bullying children. Like it's absolutely crazy to watch how this is happening and like how it's become a social norm and accepted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, bullying as a whole, that's the political sphere we live in, and it's
Yeah.
going to continue to get worse. Like if you don't like what you hear, shut them down, bully them too, and that's both sides of the aisle. Um, that's left and right. I don't care who you are. If you think that it's only one way, you're missing because it's going both ways and it's becoming the norm because Twitter works, because social media is what it is. And one of the questions I try to send through to you guys is how do we as parents now address that? When I was a kid, when I was like 15, I got a cell phone because all you could do was text and play Snake. And now my 10-year-old daughter can basically get on, she can be on Facebook, TikToks, all the InstaFace, Snapgrams, whatever it is, and it never ends. They don't get it, and then so if they're getting bullied, bullies can follow them, and you just got to be part of the cool crowd. You got to be part of that. So they're gonna let those people into their lives. But again, my boy Conan, he introduced me to the holy hell that is social media between kids. We don't even know. We're not even touching
Mm-hmm.
it.
No,
If
we
you
don't
as a
have a clue.
parent sit back and go, my 10-year-old should have Snapchat, you're wrong. You are
Right.
wrong on every single level, and you need to have your head extracted from your rear end. We have to end it because A, the bullying doesn't end. And then throughout this pandemic and it's 2 years of being locked in, the best part of your life is put on social media. So when a kid who doesn't have a whole lot sees his buddy who maybe has just a little bit more, and all he sees is, hey, we went did this today, or I got brand new Jordans, whatever the hell it is. My cloth mask has glitter on it. I don't even know. They compare. So they're constantly in a state of feeling like they don't have the same things that their neighbor does. It was bad enough in our generation. 24/7, it's not good. So how do we step in as parents and say, we're going to get a hold of this? You're not going to be the cool kid at school with a cell phone with TikTok, Snapgrams, all the stuff.
Yeah, Snapchat.
Right. So like what I've done with my kids is like I explain to them all the time. I'm like, you guys have really good lives. Look around and see everything that you have and everything that you've been provided. Like, is your situation different from a lot of kids? Yeah. Like your parents are divorced. You have two separate homes, but what you guys do have is two parents that still get along. We can be in the same room as each other. We can ride in the same car. We can have conversations. We celebrate your birthdays together as a family, like me and her, and everybody's there, and we all get along. We can laugh. We can joke. There's no fighting. So between me and their mom, we've shown that there's a good thing there, and they have it better than a lot of broken home children, so to speak.
That's a
So
fact.
Hey, don't call
that's
my
one
home
of them.
broken.
They're broken. They're broken, but it can be fixed, and it just takes a lot of work. But
Right?
the other part is I always like to emphasize, like, when they bring up, oh hey, my friend got this and that and this, I'm like, hey, good for them. But you're seeing the highlight of their lives. You're not seeing their entire life. Like, remember so and so time ago when you got this and they didn't, and
Mm-hmm.
they probably went home and said, hey, Gunner got this, or Harper got this, or one of my kids got this. You know what I mean? It's like they're all going through the same thing that you're going through, and you don't have to keep up with everybody. What you have to do is stay in your lane and do everything that you're capable of doing and being happy with what you have. Because are there people that have more than you do? Absolutely. But are there people that have less than you do? Absolutely. So be happy with what you have and don't complain. And the other thing is what your dad said, and I agree with it wholeheartedly. Anybody that isn't 18 that you're responsible for, that lives under your roof, they don't need privacy. They need they need to be monitored, and they need to be
They need
taught,
a
and
parent.
they need to be shown structure and responsibility and how to be a productive member of society, and to not be somebody that you release into the world that's going to be a bad person with a bad character who becomes a parent and repeats that process. You know what I mean?
I just want you to know that 9/10 of that was actually Gabe. Gabe just said. I think Dad's exact words were, "Kids that age don't need privacy; they need a parent." So he
Yeah.
extrapolated a little bit, but you know,
No, and I
that's
think
life.
when I saw, I think that's 100% right. I think that's one of the things that and I don't know if it's a generation thing. Like we ebb and flow through how parents were, and you had like parents from the 40s and the 50s, and that's how you end up with the generation in the 60s of free love, and then you end up with the 80s parents who were maybe a little more up your butt. And that's how we ended up where we're at today is these people like, hey, we need to be hands off because we can't spank our kids and all that crap. Well, you got to do what you got to do. You have to raise your children. You can't let your
Mm-hmm.
children raise you, and you can't let society raise your kids. This is one of the questions. After I listened to that episode, I looked at that Drake kid and his situation. And we unfortunately within the last year had a young child take their own life, and it floors me. I
Mm-hmm.
was I don't know blessed enough that I wasn't on that call because that's one of
Right.
those you may not, but it changed my whole like what are we doing as parents? What are we doing as society when 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, kids this age, have the thought I need to kill myself. What have we done where they've lost so much hope that they're going to hang it up at 8 years old? And B, what are we doing where they can even have the access to the things to do that? I don't know because I had to have a conversation with my daughter. Like,
Mm-hmm.
how do you have that conversation with a 10-year-old? I don't know, but I have to worry about it every single day now. And I look at the kids in her class, and I look at the kids in fourth grade and third grade and sixth grade, and I know shit's hard. I
Mm-hmm.
vaguely remember that age, but never, never in my wildest dreams was like, well, this isn't going to get better. That didn't
Right.
cross my mind, but we're seeing it
Like it,
over and over.
I think the added factor that's different from us growing up and our children growing up is 100% the majority of the time that I was in trouble, it was because I was out too long playing in the woods, hiking, riding my bike, down at the basketball court shooting baskets and didn't come home when the streetlights came on, or got caught up with my friends out doing stuff. We weren't on the internet. We weren't strapped to our phones watching everything in life with other people's lives. We were busy living our lives. We were busy building forts. We were busy carving tunnels in the ground and tunneling them because we thought we were going to find treasure because we're idiots. Like, we were being little kids and having a great time and doing that. What the difference is that kids are watching full grown people who are celebrities talk to them like, this is what you need to do to be liked. This is what you need to do to increase your following. This is what you need to do to become Facebook famous or Instagram famous. Like, and like they're giving out an instruction manual and it's putting all this pressure on regular ass kids that are living in the middle of Nebraska, living in the middle of Utah, coming out of Oklahoma, coming out of Arizona, and it's not a feasible thing for every person to have that kind of a life. And when they
So
don't get that, it puts all that stress on them and like, oh, I'm never going to be anything. I'm never going to be successful, and then they start to lose that hope.
yeah,
Before I lose my track on this one, this was where I'm gonna play devil's avocado. I think that perspective hasn't really changed from our parents to us, and why I say that is because I feel like every generation has to deal with something new. So the technology is always growing, it's always changing. Our parents probably looked at how they were raising us the same way as we're looking at the current generation now, because just from our generation, you're looking at going from having, you know you go out and work the fields to, well, now we have TV, we have radio, we have all this new stuff, and as that's getting introduced into our worlds, we're sitting there and going, well, crap, this is a new social deal. So radio was a social media for their time. TV was a social media. I feel like our parents were probably saying the same stuff where they're like, how do I deal with this? We've got all these new random strangers telling our kids how to live life and what is successful and what the correct way to live life is. I feel like that's probably always been a thing, and it was probably like that, the generations before that, where it was the newspaper and then you have smoke signals, whatever. You've got somebody else that's always reaching into our lives and trying to say, hey, this is how you do it. So I think our problems aren't that much different than the previous generations, and I think that the best way we could help ourselves is by learning from what our parents did. And what I mean by that is just that, you know, they were trying, if we take the values that they had and we focus on those as well, I think we'd be doing well by that just because, like you just said, we got encouraged to go outside, have a life, and do things. And yeah, it's changed now, so we have to learn how to deal with it, with the changes. But a lot of the stuff that our parents tried to instill into us, the core value was the same. And I think if we would stick to that, and if every generation would actually kind of like focus on those small things, because it's just a topic and it's not the minute things, I think it would do us a lot of good just to be able to sit there and learn off what we've already been taught. And I think we suck at doing that.
So, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong here. I think you're right, and I think but that's the question. It's the question our parents asked, and it's the question that we have to answer beforehand. Because TV, I can distinctly remember, hey, don't sit too close to it, you're going to go blind. We
Yeah.
don't want certain shows. I'm pretty sure it was like The Simpsons, and maybe when South Park came out, like your kids can't learn their values from these shows. Good God, please. But now as an adult, I'm like, actually, South Park's where I'd like my kids to learn values because they learn how to make fun of all of it. We get a
Yeah.
crap on everything.
Yeah.
But the difference is the TV and the radio weren't the bully from down the street.
Right.
They weren't the kids who made you feel small at school and then would never take their foot off the gas when you got home. And I don't know if that's always the situation, but I do know what happened. So the question is, and the question we dealt with growing up is, hey, do you have the new PlayStation? Do you have the new Reebok pumps? Do you have the new coolest thing? And with kids now, it's pretty simple. What's the coolest thing? I need the Apple 42 or the Samsung Galaxy. I don't know what phone we're on. Like mine's still old. I worked with a guy who still got a flip phone that doesn't do anything but text, and I think he's got life figured out. I'll be 100% honest with you. That man is doing better than the rest of us.
Hey,
He's
you
happier.
don't talk about him that
Guarantee
way.
it. I love him. He's my dude.
I
He
do too.
got
I
his
love him
first
too.
email address.
That's crazy.
It's 2022. He's never had an email address. What a
Wow.
lucky human being. So how do we look
Especially
at our
with all
kids
he's
though?
done.
And we struggle because our kids want to be cool. Hey man, there's kids in my daughter's class. They got cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
What do they do when they have their cell phones?
I don't know. Those are
They stop interacting. So we're mid-30s now. Except for
yeah.
some people,
So
right? Let's just say mid-30s. Are you going to be willing to be the parent who's a dick, who says, no, you don't need that shit? When you're 16, you're going to get a phone that can text, and I can make sure you get your butt home. And then the other thing is, how much fear is instilled? I still will let my kids go run out in the yard because I don't think they're going to get kidnapped. But all we see on social media and the news is, hey, man, your kids go outside, they're gone. Somebody's going to snatch them up. I mean,
I live in a metropolitan area ish. And I'm
you know,
like, yeah, whatever, just good
neck
to
in
you.
a big city, like you're not doing good. But who gives it? Like we used to go out. What time did you come home? When the street lights came on, maybe.
Yeah,
You
and
knew
that's being lucky,
you
especially for
90% of the time
us.
you were safe.
Yeah, we had a
right.
park
But
right next to us because we didn't have the exposure to, God, this is what all's going on because it was still happening then.
exactly, yeah,
But we didn't have
nothing's
that
changed.
exposure.
It's just we see it more, and so how do we pull our kids out of that? How do we get our kids out of the metaverse and into actual life where they can see their worth? And how do you pour into your kids? What is it you do every single day to make sure your kids' value and worth and esteem doesn't come from the outside world? What message are you sending every single day to your kids so they know that their worth is 100% based in who they are and not what the outside world says?
Right. There's
Yeah.
a lot that we can ask and we can question and we can try to fix, but um, at a certain point, you have to understand and accept that your home and within your home, and possibly really close friends and other family members is the extent of your reach when it comes to societal changes. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And
You want to change the
so,
world, you got to start at home.
well, that's the thing, and that goes back to what I said earlier, man. Be the change you want to be in the world. Like
Yeah.
it is the whole the whole idea of hitting that Gandhi level. Be the change you want to see. You know what I mean? Like instead of violence, I
Yeah.
offer you a cup of love. You know what I mean? Like
Was
Yeah,
Gandhi that great though? Was he really
man.
that peaceful? I don't know.
I don't know, dude.
I
Was
didn't
he that
count too
peaceful his
much.
whole life, or did he have a divine intervention at some point? You know what I mean?
Well, he
How much
might
ass
have.
do you have to kick to get that peaceful? You know.
But
He
I
got
Hey,
think
dude.
some goal.
Bill Murray kind of walked us through it, man. Gungula, gungula, gungula,
Google it, Google it, Google
Oh
it.
yeah. Or like the great Dalai Lama,
gungula.
he said he'd do my
I just
unity.
when I'm on my deathbed, I'll have everlasting peace. So I've got that going for me.
Yeah, so I got
Like,
that
I mean,
going
that's
for
just, I
me.
love the people around you, love your kids, man. Like, but we have to be the ones to put our kids' self worth in them. And like you said, your kids don't deserve privacy because what happens on cell phones, what happens on social media, there's levels to it, man. Like Snapchat's top level, and then there's 16 levels of Snapchat that I didn't know existed that can exist, and you have to be in it. It's scary. You'll probably get in trouble. You're probably gonna have your kids pissed off at you. But I don't think I've ever seen a kid who hated his parents for like the right reasons. Like if you beat your kid on a regular basis and punch them in the face and abuse them, they hate you. They're gonna have trauma. But for the people that we grew up with, people that we know, like if you hated your parents because they just were always involved, they always wanted you to be successful. They were making sure you did your homework. They were making sure you were involved in a sports. They were making sure that you weren't doing stupid stuff. Those kids have a better shot, right? Like that's what we need to do again. We can't step back. We can't abdicate our roles as parents and let the world raise our kids. And we're going to screw it up. And we have to be okay with that.
Right. And with that being said, we're gonna start to wind down here. We want to thank Justin for taking the time out to hop on here and talk to us about his life, his career, and his coping mechanisms. We'd like to thank him for giving us more resources to reach out to for um, programs out there that help the firefighter and EMS community. For all you listeners out there that think that you could benefit from those programs. Um, with that being said, Justin, with everything that we talked about, uh, let's get a takeaway.
Okay. So I was told by a guy, Steve Dawkins. There's another guy. You guys that are military. He's former military. One of the things he told me was when he's dealing with his stuff was I don't want 4 or 5 years of my life to dictate the rest of it. Like that was he knows his trauma, but he's stepping out of it. And he's doing great things. He really is caring. But he said before you leave the podcast, make sure you tell a happy story. So I wanted to make sure I got a good story in here, and this is the story he kind of told me because we have to know there's still a lot of good in the world. So December 10th of last year, we had the tornadoes go through Kentucky, right? And we all know there was the candle factory that was hit. There was a guy, Graves County inmate Marco Sanchez. This guy deserves all the credit in the world. Um, he's an inmate in a prison, and tornado comes through, blows the whole prison up. He was out working at this candle factory, I guess, and he could have escaped. This is his moment. I can go. He ended up spending the night taking people out of this collapsed candle factory, and then when he went back, he hitched a ride and went back to where he was supposed to go back to jail, and said, oh, "The jail's gone." And he could have bailed, but he did something incredible. He went and found a police officer, turned himself in, and said, "Hey, I'm an inmate. My jail's gone. Done. I need to take care." And he went and turned himself, went back to jail. So even in the worst situations, the worst kind of people, those things we see, there's great people out there. When given the opportunity, they step up. And wherever you're at in that story, be that guy. Be the person to step in and do something good. If you see somebody hurting, if you see somebody who just needs a little bit, step into it. Because right now we've got all this stuff with Ukraine and Russia, and the world always feels like it's collapsing. If you're watching the news, pull your head out of it. If you're watching Facebook, pull your head out of it. There's too much good in the world. You're needed. For all the people who are struggling right now, these guys can be connected with me. Like I said, Building Grit. Check out Nick Wingo, what he's doing. I know he's out on Facebook. He's on social media. Next Rung, they're doing great things. Take care of the men and women who take care of you, and then connect with good people. Love each other different, and be willing to have hard conversations. Liminalworks.com, Crucible Project. There's so many things out there that are resources for us to use. Chase after them. Figure out what it is you need, and if you don't know, find one of these resources. And I can guarantee you, guys like Chris Mosier, guys like Cole Willard, Jeremy Condon, me, these three guys. There's people out there who may not have the answers, but they're gonna do everything they can. They're gonna love you, love your families, and just take care of each other.
Thanks. TJ, give me some takeaways.
Man, just be a better fucking person. You know what I mean? Like, help your friends out and shit. Like, they come to you and say, like, damn, that sucked. Be like, yeah, that did suck. Like, how are you feeling about it? Don't be like, oh, don't be a bitch, you know? Just do better. That's what I've got.
Awesome. Derek, what you got for me, boss?
All right, so I'm just going to add on to Justin's little spiel there with the promotions. Guys, the local 831's also on Facebook. Hit them up, like them as well. You can listen into and see North Platte's greatest things. Hey, kiddo on Justin's side, love you.
Oh, hey, Cam, Derek says hi.
Love you, Cam. Peek in, say
He
hey
said,
on
love you.
say hey
Come
on
here,
the
Cam.
podcast.
He said, come say hi on the podcast before you go to bed.
Hey, Cam
Hello.
Bam. That's my niece.
They said,
She's
love
the
you.
most amazing thing on earth, as well as my daughters and sons and everyone else here is kids and sons. But no, so I wanted to hit that up, say that. Like Justin said, hit up those links that he shared. We're going to add those into the information side of the podcast here. My takeaway from this whole thing is just like TJ had said, be a good person. Justin had said, there's a lot of things that we aren't in control of, and there's resources out there. And he hit up some great resources. Like he said, we went to men's group and we did a lot of tough things together. It was Crucible before, and now it's the new link that Justin said. And we'll hit them up and share them in this as well. It taught us a lot of resources and a lot of things to be a better person. So we hope to share that, and I've been trying to start sharing that as we've gone here. But it's just been amazing. We're going to have more time to talk to Justin, and we'll get more input from him as we go here. Like he said, this Ukraine and Russia deal, it's taking up a lot of everyone's time. It seems to be a trend where there's a current event. It sucks anymore, but you know, this is a good time. We get to share good times, good memories, and just try to be positive. So tomorrow when you wake up, even if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, go to bed, wake up, try it again. And keep doing that until you're feeling like you're doing the right thing that day. And just be a better person. So that's my takeaway from it. I think we have a lot to build on and grow on from here. Can't wait till we do this again.
Before Gabe goes, I want to say one, and this is kind of Derek's my favorite quote in the world. So you guys write it down. Yesterday, when today was tomorrow, it was too much day for today. So
like
don't worry about tomorrow. That's Winnie the Pooh. God, it's a great movie. Check him out. He's a really good guy. But guys, don't get caught up in tomorrow's problems. Take care of today. And like you said, man, tomorrow sucks already. There's too much out there. It's too much for today, let alone tomorrow. So take care today and enjoy your lives. Sorry, Brew, go ahead, man.
You're good. Input in the world. So I'm just gonna close this out by saying, be the change you want to see in the world. Be better people. Do everything that you can to learn sign language, so this easier for me.
Call of action.
Yeah, call of action. I was getting to it, brother. We need you guys to like and follow us on all of your streaming services. Follow us on YouTube. Leave reviews. Share us. And hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Um, any pretty much. So hit us up, follow us, like us, engage with us, and have a good time. We will do our best to get to everything. Our communities are growing on all the social media, so if you don't get one of us, you'll get somebody to interact with you, and it's a good time. Next week, we will be talking with my ex-wife, Katie Clark, and we will get into another episode where we talk about what it's like to live with a veteran who struggles with mental health and what happens when the mental health is too much for the other person and it doesn't work out, but it does work out after it doesn't work out. So tune in. So tune in for that one. With that being said, as always, we love all of our listeners. We love you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.